Welcome to the Beer Can Cold podcast with your hosts Will Merritt and JG van Graan, a podcast where the suction line is always beer can cold. Take it away, boys.
Thanks, Dougie. It's good to be back. We had one day off and we're recording again. But Will Merritt, I'm going to tell you, bud, you are in so much trouble today. You are in so much trouble.
So I've been told.
Yes, you're in middle screen between two South Africans, and I'm hoping this is going to be a good day today because, you know, we love to talk about good old stuff, and it's going to be a fun time, I think. So I'll let you introduce your guest. This was your poll, so go right ahead.
We've got Michael Cooney today. He's a good friend of mine. We play golf together from time to time, and we do some work together as well. I'll let him tell the story, I guess, but he's, I think, one of the founders of What Converts, which is, I guess, if you had to give it a main term, it's a call tracking software company, and but I think more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So
more than that.
yeah, so it's, I think they have an edge on technology over maybe some of the other ones. So we, like I said, we do some work together. So yeah, we thought it would be great to have him on tonight, and then. I didn't really do the math on this thing to realize that they're both South African, and I'm stuck in the middle here. They're already speaking in another language before this thing started that y'all missed. So,
Ons praat die hele getal.
Ja, die hele getal, né?
Yeah. So it's anyway. I'm outmanned tonight. So anyway, Michael, go ahead and just introduce yourself, and I'm sure you did a much better job than I did. So take it away.
Yeah, it's been weird. I'm looking at myself on camera and I'm realizing I've got a skew smile, and it's like freaking me out because it's like mirror image. Because I tried to fix it when I was looking at myself, and it went even more skew. So
it's weird. I get it.
It's freaking me out a little bit. Sorry, Will. So yeah, we got to meet, and I'm a co-founder of What Converts. We track marketing results. If you're running ad campaigns, which Will does through his agency, we track the results and we show you which campaigns are, bringing your best leads and your best money. But is that enough intro, Will?
It's he said, "Is that enough intro?" You were grabbing a beer, so we had to fill in there.
Yeah,
we had to fill in.
No, that's good. That's good. So it's been like a full week, and it's only Wednesday.
Man, I tell you, not to take away from Michael's good intro here, but I've had everything from arguments in the warehouse today to, it's leadership L10 to logo changes to it's Wednesday. It feels like or should be Friday already for sure.
Yeah. Like I said, I literally, Michael, you'll appreciate this. I wake up early anyway, but I usually don't get out of the bed, too early, but so I got up to make a tea time at 7 a.m. So I grabbed one for the following Saturday. It was Father's Day weekend. So nice. I even played both days. So I think we got like 5 for Saturday, but so I started at it just right at 7 o'clock and did not stop until late morning. Took a little break, went to the dry cleaners, and then it's just been full out calls. I've been on the phone all day long and Zoom calls, and which I'm not complaining. It's just that we're very fortunate. It's busy, and so so that's where we are right now. So it's kind of
that's what I get.
No, go ahead. You were grabbing a tea time. You know what I'll be doing that Saturday, right? I'm playing in the Cape Fear Rugby Sevens tournament with my buddies and my son. So I strap on once a year. I strap the cleats on, and it's never good. And I can't walk for 2 weeks, and it's a whole recovery thing. And I don't, Michael, you should know, I don't play sevens. I play 15s, but it's been many years. So we just do this thing once a year, and we're at the age now where we can play with our sons, which is college age. So it's easy. Yeah. I catch the ball, I take the first contact, and just hand it to a speedy kid, and it's over. Yeah. It's fun.
I was going to say, rugby, when you're a young man, it's hard on the body. But when you're at our age, oh man, what are you doing?
It's hard enough.
Our team name is actually Old Enough to Know Better. So it's we play in these orange like highlighter vests, so everybody can see us from a mile away. But it's fun, you know. I've been coaching for many years, and so it's fun to play with some of the kids that come through the program. But yeah, that's my Father's Day plans. So I will I might not be able to record that next Wednesday. I'll just let you know if I'm out of the hospital yet or not.
Yeah, that's fine. They were asking me today, you know, what's everybody's asking, what's the Father's Day plans? And I said, well, I just have everybody come over and I'll grill. She's like, you want to grill on Father's Day? I'm like, sure. Yeah. The question is though, is it U.S. Open? Is that Father's Day weekend?
I think it might be. Yeah,
it usually is. So there might be something. Might have to think about that one then.
So what is the date for Father's Day? Is it the 16th, 14th?
15th. Okay. Yeah, because it's Friday the 13th next Friday.
Oh, yeah. I won't be going to work. I'll be working from home that day. So, so Michael, tell us a little bit more about what converts.
So, I mean, do you want to know how it got started or why it got started?
Yeah, hit it from kind of, you know, where, you know, we know you're South African. And so how did you get started, you know, in this, you know, what made you, I think you and I have discussed it a little bit on the golf course, but kind of give us, you know, what happened, what said, all right, we're going to start this company and just, you know, kind of take us from there.
Yeah, I mean, I was in South Africa. That's where I started my career. And I actually started as an electrical engineer. And I was an electrical engineer building gold mines and pharmaceutical plants. And I just didn't like engineering, too detailed. And I wanted to get into marketing. Yeah. And so over time, you know, it's at the same time that the internet became the big thing. And then I saw, you know what would be cool? Because I was in the business of securing suppliers for, you know, equipment. And I was like, man, all my suppliers are going to be on the internet. This is going to be cool. And no one was there. So one thing led to another. And I built an engineering directory to connect buyers and suppliers. And that got pretty big. It's still the leading directory in South Africa to this day. But from that, we were serving clients, you know, so you guys are in the marketing business. And we were generating leads for clients through the directory. And then we became an agency who would build websites for companies. And then there was always this problem of like, we're doing all this work and clients are always asking questions that you don't have good answers to. Yep. And they always want more information. And what they want is, I spent $1. How many dollars did I get for what I spent? That's what they want.
Yes.
And it's a heck of a lot more difficult to get that because you got a sales process in between and things get disconnected and you got all this marketing data that you try and gather. And so we cobbled together tools in our agency and it worked. And then eventually I went to a meeting with a client and I said, hey man, we doubled leads this month. Isn't that great? And he was like, well, I don't know. It seems like we're quoting a lot of our existing customers. And I knew I had the data to show that even existing customers were still searching online for product, not for their company name, but I didn't have it at hand. And I got fed up. So I said, you know what, I'm going to build this tool. And that's what Converts became. So now we gather all the data. We coupled in sales. So we get all the marketing attribution points. We get all the conversion actions. So forms, phone calls, chats. We squash it all together. And then we also tie into CRMs to get the sales data so that we can then show the clients, you know, what value you get for your marketing.
That's really cool. So it's kind of like you're the piece between, like, so for instance, Will does the marketing for our company at Bohr Brothers. So you guys are kind of in between to show me that all the money I'm paying Will is being profitable. Is that pretty much it?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And I mean, so determining ROI comes in different flavors, and we try to accommodate it. And a lot of the data, what we find is a lot of times it's not a technical problem. And the biggest revelation agencies get with us is that they find out that the sales side aren't doing a good job with the leads they generate. Like you can imagine, you're doing marketing, there was this one company I looked in the other day. They want to use our AI features. And the AI features like look at the transcript of the phone call and tell you like was an appointment booked, what was it booked for, all this stuff, you know, so you can determine some value. And so I looked at 10 calls and I'm like, let me evaluate and see how this is going. Out of the 10, 8 calls weren't answered. The 9th one the person was like, yeah, you're just going to have to, well, this was for auto repair. They were like, yeah, just bring in your car. We can't quote you on the phone. And then the 10th one was sort of, they had a little discussion. So those were 10 leads generated where the sales just squandered them. So that's a big part. Will's
about to lose his mind.
Can I jump onto the soapbox?
Yes, jump on. I knew this is coming. Michael, you unleashed it. Here it comes.
Oh boy.
Well, and again, and you're talking about there's a sales process. So we work in this really gray, abstract world of heating and air conditioning, and it's just there's so many touch points. And again, you can serve the lead up, but then there's so many people touching it. So it's the first line, the CSR, and first of all, answering the phone. So we track that too. You can track missed phone calls, and you can track it by time of day. So we'll look at that because we see still a lot of companies. They're going to an answering service still at 5:00. So when does the average homeowner get home? 5:30. 6:30, and is there a live person at that company answering? So most people are having after hours services and stuff, but it's tough. And I'll give you a real world example. We're trying to contact this printer. One of our clients wants to do literally a thermostat hanger to put on the thermostats, and so they're like, "Hey, here's our printer." We've been trying to get in touch with them for literally 5 days. And I talked to one of the guys tonight. He said, try this number. So I don't know if it's the owner's personal cell or what, but I said, I'll call him in the morning. But I'm like, dude, answer your phone. But that's what's tough, and Michael's dead on with it. You can kind of see what happened. Well, the phone didn't get answered, missed call. Or he has what he's, I guess, kind of alluding to, if you want to put it into a defined term, conversational intelligence or conversation intelligence. So I really like that. That's fairly new, right, Michael?
Yeah, it's fairly new, and it works. But if there's no conversation,
there's nothing there.
Well,
but I love it. It's great because it gives you a summary. It gives you intent of the call versus the old days and some other services we've used. You got to listen to the phone call, and I think a lot of the companies are getting to this AI conversational, but it summarizes the intent of the call. Well, so you can kind of look at it and go real quick, okay, they wanted this and this is what happened.
Absolutely. And I think what you find is that's one of the early problems. And what's great about that, so JG, I'm sure if Will comes to you and says hey man, you guys aren't answering the phones, that helps you.
He did a month ago. We fixed it though.
so now you know where the problem is, and you're happy as a company owner because you can fix it.
Yes.
If you didn't know, and these people are like, oh yeah, we're answering the phones, but
and so sorry to interrupt you, but to your point, we're a fairly large company, but we love to do the personal touch, right? And so we didn't for a while. We had this really long phone tree, and it was just not doing what it was supposed to. So I asked for it to be scrapped, and it was a big ordeal to actually scrap it. But sure. I am Michael. You might know what I'm talking about, but I grew up between Bethlehem and Kessel in the Free State. I still had to walk up to the phone and ring the central and then ask for the number, and our doctor's number was number 7. Okay, so that was just the way it was. So, but it was that personal. So I begged my company to get back to, and actually the brothers did too, is to get to the point of having a live person. So we unfortunately use a VoIP service because we have Service Titan, the two connect together. So I found out for us to go to an actual phone sitting on a desk would be an act of God. So, however, now we have this thing, and we have it set up decently, where customers call in. If the first 4 CSRs are busy, they'll go into a parking lot, but within 30 seconds they would be asked, hey, would you like for us to call you back, or would you like to hold? And so that has dramatically changed our customer service experience, right? And so then we found out we had a spike in dropped calls. So we dug into that this week, and come to find out, because of this VoIP software, something got disconnected somewhere. I lost 60 calls this month that immediately said, oh, this customer held for 30 seconds. So instead of giving them the option to be called back, just dumped them. Now it's a constant monitoring thing. Now it's a constant daily, have to go back and check. I just want to bloody well ring the Centrale and say, hey, can I please just answer the phone, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's harder than you think, and it's because we're so CSR driven. And so the option is like, well, go AI, do all this other stuff. And I'm like, we really want to be customer to CSR live. We don't want to do the AI.
And that's what the consumer wants still.
Yes. Yep.
Want,
and so it's real life, man. You just touched the chord. It's real. It's real.
Well, I want to go back to South Africa for a minute. So you like this is like the Andy Griffith show where you Sarah?
Well, we were on a farm, and
can you call Cooter's garage for me?
So you had to ring for the operator. But here was the fun thing, and I don't know if this is ever true or not, but this was the myth, that if you ring and the operator won't pick up, if you ring it backwards, it shot a shockwave through their ears. Ooh. And so they would immediately pick it. So I don't know if that was the truth or not, but I do know that every time I turned it backwards, they came on immediately. So, but yes, we had to, and the funny thing was the farmer right next to us had automatic phones. We were the cutoff line. So yeah, we, for years, until I moved away from the farm, we still had to call, our number was 1222, and we had a certain Morse code that it's your number and you got to pick up. And every time I want to call my girlfriend, I had to go see if the line was busy. But the funny story about that was there was this lady that lived in our area, and she was very nosy. So she would listen into all the phone conversations. And my dad was a bit of a prankster. So he would be like halfway through a conversation, he said, man, can you smell that? I think, and he would mention her. He said, I think she burned supper again. And she would scream on the phone, I don't burn my food, and slam the phone down.
Yeah. No, I remember the days of the rotary phone in the 70s. And so there were no area codes. And so our numbers were 548 were the first three digits and 427, but you only had to dial the last number, either the 7 or the 8, and then the 4 numbers after that.
Yeah.
And that was it. And of course, no one knew who was calling.
Have you given your kids a rotary phone and said, okay, dial myself?
We have one upstairs.
I have one actually. Mine is hooked up. The minute I walk in, if I walk into my house, I actually have an old-fashioned 19 whatever rotary phone that's hooked up to a Bluetooth module. When I walk in the house and my phone rings, I can actually go to a rotary phone and pick it up. So I made it work that way.
This is an old payphone. One of my former son-in-laws worked for Budweiser, so it's a Budweiser wall phone. You can actually put money in it.
That's awesome.
It's not rotary. It looks like it's got the buttons on it. But if my son wants to come down here and interject, it's it's the house phone still. It's the only one I have active, so he hears it ringing. He drives him crazy. The telemarketer. So he never answer the phone. There's no one. After my mom passed away, there's no reason to have a house phone, but we've kept it because it's like $10 a month.
So Michael, when you guys work with a company like Bohr Brothers and you find out that top funnel, I'm getting all this, all this leads, and then, mid funnel, I'm not doing anything with them. How does that reporting look? How do you break that news?
Yeah, it's just you have simple call tracking reporting, which shows you a percentage of calls answered, how many calls were longer than a certain duration, what time of day the calls came in. So you can see our peak time is Wednesday at 2 p.m. So when the calls are coming in. So that's one way, but the other way is now with AI. You can set it up. So our reporting is very customizable, and you can ask questions to the AI and say did they offer an appointment? Was their service discussed? And if there's no appointment offered, no service discussed, you can get a report, and they're out of these 100 calls, 20 of them offered no appointment. So you can get insights, and you can set it up there's defined questions or information you want to get, and then you can find out if those questions are not being asked. Yeah. And then you get that in a report, and then you can. The beautiful thing with our reporting, and that's the problem with most reporting, is it's snapshot reporting. You'll get 20 calls didn't ask this question. And you're well, I wonder who's not asking. And you don't know. With our reporting, you can click and see those 20 calls.
Mm. Yeah,
and then cool. You can, so you can drill down into the underlying data.
And you guys integrate with most of the CRMs out there?
Yeah, so we've got an open API and webhooks, and we also integrate with a company called Zapier.
Yes, I know Zapier.
Yeah. So there's multiple methods of how you can send and connect with the data.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, one of the home services companies that use us, they have a full technical team, and they've connected to Service Titan and House Call Pro. And so when a call comes in and an appointment is booked, they have a job type that fires back to us, and based on that job type, we give a sales value.
Mm-hmm.
That sales value is automatically fired into Google. And now when they do that, and the reason they do it, the sooner you give Google data of what's a good lead and the value of it, the better the algorithms work.
Yes.
And so then they start generating better quality leads. And we're seeing guys, one guy just told me the other day, it was actually recorded on the podcast. He said he was paying $109 per lead. And then once he started using us, it dropped down to under $40 a lead.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just by sending that sales value within the same day back to Google.
Yeah,
that's
that's huge because Google's, their ultimate goal is to provide the best user experience, for everybody. Yeah. And we do that from time to time. As agents, we always ask customers, can you give us a list of your customers from the last 6 months? Name, address, email, everything, and we'll feed that into Google. And they try to mirror. All right, these are good customers, and they try to mirror that data. So that immediate feedback Google loves.
So if you may not know this, but we've got like a lead import feature. So if you import a CSV, we'll send it back to Google for you.
Really?
Oh wow!
I need to get my pad and pen and take some notes.
Yeah.
Or you can just watch live next Thursday at 6, and it'll remind you.
Yeah. There we go. But yeah, no, I mean that's the one. I mean, there's many things that agencies use us for, but one of the things is our connection to Google. It just allows you to send data back quickly. So if you use our enhanced conversion type, if we get an email address or a phone number, we'll send that to Google and try and match it up with their data.
Okay.
Oh, that is very good.
And in our platform, it will tell you if that data was received by Google.
Will, are we still having some issues with Google and the stuff we were trying to do with second locations and stuff? Do you know?
Yeah.
Do you have an update on that?
It's interesting. So this is, boy, you're opening up a can of worms right here. I think you guys are it seems like you're going to be okay. So, everybody probably knows this, but 2018, Google put this initiative to localize the internet. And so we were out I remember MozCon out in Seattle, and they started talking about it. So ever since then, they said, everything else is local, so we want to make everything local. So again, Google business, they want to provide the best local provider closest to the searcher, so they're trying to provide the best, answers for people when they're looking for a service or whatever they're searching for. So what has happened is, over the years, that started to progress, companies tried to kind of, circumvent the system. So let's open a post office box over here in this town where we want to do more business. And that worked fine for a while. And then it kept getting more stringent. So now, they want a bricks and mortar business there. And even just a couple of years ago, to set up a new business profile, we have a client down in Wilmington at the coast, and they have another location in Bald Head Island, and we went in to set it up. It was no big deal. And they were renting a little suite there. They're actually building a building right now, and it's legit. It's a business there, and they run it there. Well, I guess about maybe a year, 18 months ago, it's almost like, and it was after COVID. So the Google business department, you can't speak to anyone live. You can with local service ads, some of the other departments, and they're really good most of the time. But to get to someone at Google Business is very hard. So we found, we researched it and stuff. But the two main industries that what they're really creating problems with is attorneys and the trades, and heat and air conditioning specifically. So if you go set up a new business profile, they typically immediately suspend it. And it's like you're in a penalty box, and it's very tough to get out. So we've learned and found that you've got to have a bricks and mortar location. And then when you go to set the thing up and set it live, you need to be literally in the space, and they want you to take a video. They're pinging your IP. They know where you are. So I was looking at your pictures of Michelle. It looks like
Mhm.
you guys did a great job. They had a big Bower Brothers
Yep.
back wall there. She's on the phone,
Mhm.
and it's legit. So it looks like they're fine. But we've had a couple of people that we've had issue with, and they went and did it and tried to jump the gun a little bit, and they're still suspended. So there's it's kind of it's a tough thing. So I don't know if things are the restrictions or whatever Google's put on this is lightened or they've relaxed things or what, but it seems like a couple of people recently have had good success with it. But again, they're very stringent. You can't just go do it.
Yeah.
So we got two people in the penalty box, and we're actually working with an outside company that supposedly specializes in reinstatement with it because it's very tough. So yeah, so
Michael,
that's a good one. So.
Michael, do you guys struggle with some of this regulatory stuff through Google as well?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many changes over the years and the different programs that they bring out. But like Google My Business, which is now Google Business Profile, that's constantly changing.
Yes.
And even like the regular Google ads, at one point you couldn't put a tracking number on their system because they had to use their number.
Yep.
But the numbers they used were terrible because they used them across different campaigns, so people get nuisance calls. So then they relaxed that, and then they're like, okay, you got to have it, but then you have to have an address, or you have to verify your domain in Google Search Console. So it's constantly changing, and there's now local search ads, LSA, or some people call them Google Guaranteed. Yep. That's all the rage. So you guys would have used that. And then people rave about it, like, wow, I'm getting, like the leads cost so much less than regular search ads. But then over time, those become more expensive. So yeah, exactly. If it works, it's going to get more expensive.
And I'll give you a real world example. When it started, it started in California, and then of course it migrates across west to east. And Charlotte was actually one of the very first ones. This is probably I don't know how many years now, 6-7 years ago. So like they released it to the West Coast markets, and they did like Atlanta, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, those type of things. But Charlotte was one. So it was a fixed amount, and it was like, I think $27.50 a lead type of thing, fixed. Now it's on like the auction, just like the search ads, and it's all based upon demand, supply and demand. So I've been watching it. So we're seeing metro market stuff 80 to 100.
Yep.
It's crazy. And we got clients everywhere, and we got a few that are just lucky. We got one up in the Quad Cities. I mean, they're still getting leads for like $27.
Yeah.
$27.
And they're killing it.
I've got a funny story that I call it the story of the idiot son. And I had this is the early days of What Converts. I still had a client, and we, like you're saying, that we had one client that was lucky. They were spending $1 per click for their keyword terms. And we're targeting 1,500 keyword terms. And after a year, it was good. And the guy was like, can we spend more? I said, dude, you don't have to spend more. There's no competition. But I want to tell you, one day there will come a time when you will spend more for the same results.
Yes.
And it's like, okay. So this went on for about 3 years, and they were still getting lucky. And then the son went to lunch with a competitor and bragged about our campaign.
Oh.
And from that meeting, quadruple cost for the same results.
Does the son still work for the dad?
Yeah, he does. And I'm like, oh, geez. And so then what we had to do was, like, before they wouldn't qualify leads, they weren't motivated because everything was cheap. They were getting results without doing it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you got two choices. You can spend more for the same results, or you can be strategic, qualify leads, and let's focus on the high value ones, bump up that, those fees. So we ended up, they still ended up spending more, but not as much as they would if they just didn't do it strategically.
And that's what's going on today. And we, I know we're all over the place here, but as an agency, I just don't like going to clients going, you need to spend more. I don't. But what the reality is, it's just like everything, everything has gone up in price.
Oh, geez, yeah.
I always go to the potato chip thing. I love chips.
Potato chip.
I'm a chipaholic. I got some of my Aldi veggie straws right here.
Dude, that's a science experiment. That's not potato chip.
Well, it's again,
It's
I
not
got
as
plenty-
it's
I have
not
plenty of chips right here within arm's reach, practically. but-
Michael. It's not a Simba chippy.
And this, yeah, it's not a Simba chip.
So, so potato chips used to be, $1.50, $2. I mean, I remember it got to $3. And now I saw the worst one the other day was 2 bags of just regular, they're not even 8 ounces. I think they're 7.75 now, 2 for 10. And I'm like, really? So I go to Aldi because they used to be 89 cents. It's their brand, but they're some of them are just exactly like the Lay's or Ruffles or whatever. But they doubled in price. And it's the same thing with the cost of the lead. So we had, whatever budget a month, $5,000 for AdWords or 10 grand or whatever it is, was generating X number of leads. Well, that lead number has diminished because of the cost.
Yeah.
It's like, so I'm like, guys, I mean, I hate to say it, but we will organic efforts. We're doing everything there. You're getting a lot of organic stuff. You're getting through Google Business Profile, that type of stuff. But the paid leads it's just more expensive. And it's just like everything. Everything's going up.
Yeah. And I mean, I keep an eye on Google Ads, their revenue. They report it every quarter. And I mean, they're getting close to 300 billion a year. And if you look at it, I mean, they got to do things so that, they get more ad dollars or else their share price plummets. But I mean, a lot of people complain and they rail against Google and they're not going to pay it. But where can you find advertising that does better?
Yeah.
Right.
And you can use it if you like really lean into it and you say like, okay, as long as I'm getting ROI and I'm being strategic and I'm using tools to get the most out of it, it's a competitive advantage for, against those who aren't doing it.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's lots of HVAC companies who are just spending too much money. And if you do it strategically and you do it really well, you can still compete.
That's my soapbox, right? So it's okay if my marketing costs more because my system is going to go up in price. My services is going to go up in price. And then we're a value add, right? We're a value selling company. We're going to sell you on why we're better. But I think where a lot of the mistakes come in for companies is they complain about the marketing piece being expensive, but they don't put it back into the sales price.
Yes.
They just, they don't exponentially grow it the way they're supposed to. And it's tough. Now, Will, I have a loaded question for you. What percent of overall revenue should go to marketing?
Well, what we typically see in our business is 3 to 5% of gross revenue. So if you're doing,
before or after co-op dollars,
I'd say before, and then you can add on to that because we typically say, hey, if you're going to do that, why don't we add that and go up a little bit? But we have clients all over the place. Some that are probably 1%, some that might be closer to 10%. But our industry typically underspends on marketing, but I don't see that when you get up closer like 10%, it's not sustainable unless you're running very efficient and you're putting it in as overhead on your job. So I would just, if I were the heat and air conditioning owner, I would, if I'm doing 3% marketing, there'd be a 3% line item added to every invoice.
That's right.
That's marketing related.
You know what I'm interested in hearing from you guys is because it's more complicated than that, because you spend on marketing and you might get a guy for an HVAC inspection or his condenser coil went out and you go out to repair it. Like, do you have programs in place to nurture that person to stay in touch so that when he does need a replacement, so you got to cover that as well.
The number one thing is, and it's been like this in our business forever, is you got to get them as a maintenance customer. I always say it's however you want to call it. You put their arms around them, Michael. You put blinders on them like a horse, and you want it to where they don't think about anybody else.
Yeah.
And you got to look at it. You can call it a dating process. You can call it a farming process, whatever. But you got to get them into the fold. And everybody's going to be at different levels. You might be somebody with a 2-year-old system, and they say, "Hey, I need to do maintenance," and they call you, and you sign up as they call for tune-up. You sign up as a maintenance customer. Well, they're probably not going to drive a ton of revenue, for quite a few years. But you can sell, add-ons, indoor air quality. They might need zoning. You know, they might need a mini split or something for a room that doesn't cool, but you got to get them into the fold. But I think this is leading right into kind of what I've seen and like about you guys is trying to measure the life cycle.
Yeah.
That customer. So I just, again, I say, here's the real world example. You know, every contractor, you know, almost, you know, I want more change outs. I want more change outs, you know, and we even have something. I want to advertise for change outs. I'm like, we found over the years that does not work. You find price shoppers with that. They're just the bottom feeders. Hey, I'm calling you, but I got 6 other people coming. Who's going to win that one? You know, either a really good salesperson or probably the low ball person. But no, but to be able to come in and track to where, all right, you know, we came out and we did a tune-up for Michael, and it was, you know, he signed up for maintenance. So maybe we got $350 in the kitty, you know, and Michael's got a new system, but then we can sit there and you can track it through your software every time. If we have the proper connection with their CRM, their service, you know, dispatch software, every time there's an instance of a transaction, we can measure that. And that's great because you can kind of see it. You know, and then, again, it might be 8 years before you really get the big one, but you know, and that goes back to you. All right, well, you know, what's really the ROI? Well, you know, if you paid $100 for a Google local service ad call and you got $129 tune-up out of it, that's not very good. You know, it might pay off in 5 years, but you know, you get the one that's $100 and it's a $16,000 system. That's pretty damn good. You don't know.
Yeah, so I've seen that, like, not just in HVAC, but in manufacturing, is like marketing gets measured on the first transaction.
Yeah.
And so, like, with HVAC, you get measured like, oh, you spend $100 and you got $129 inspection. It's like, that's what they look at the ROI. But I've seen it. Yeah. I've seen it where it goes into the CRM, and once it becomes 6 months old in the CRM, they now consider it an operations or a CSR credit sale.
So it's an existing customer.
It's an existing customer, yeah. So then when the big deal comes through, the $20,000 change out.
Oh, yes, existing customer.
Yeah, marketing gets zero.
You didn't provide that. That's our customer.
Yeah. And we go look back in the journey, and you can see before that 20,000, they came back to Google again, searched, clicked on, made the phone call, and then so it was marketing playing its role again, but they get zero credit in those situations. But I mean, so another one that I've just been doing marketing for 25 years, and I've seen it, is that, like, for instance, my HVAC system, my neighbor searched Google, found somebody, did a great job. They told me about it, you know, they did my system. I told my other neighbor. So that was 3 neighbors from one Google ad, but it's hard to track it.
Yeah.
So here's what I would just circle back to maintenance agreements for a second. It is by far the most important thing in any heating and air conditioning company. And there's a couple of reasons for it. Number one, you're correct. It is for the change out eventually, right? Yep. But when the change out happens, it is for the marketing after the fact. Because if you wow them, it's going to be good, right? The other reason it is incredibly important is that's where I coach and train my young techs to be better, right? We bring them in from community college, where they get the technical know-how, but we have an amazing guy that runs our PM department, and that's where he coaches, and that's where we start turning the guys loose, is to go do these PMs and do a proper job and then work on the customer service fact. So for me, it's even more valuable. And then the third thing, it plays down into EBITDA. If I want to sell my business, one of the first things they look at is the amount of maintenance agreement customers I have. And so maintenance agreement, and if you run a heating and air company and you don't believe in maintenance agreements, you're losing it. You're missing the boat, because it is so far. It touches everything in our business. It touches, right now I'm trying to hire a bunch more service technicians because I want to up the amount of techs I have versus office people. And that's how I keep the guys busy, so I don't have to lay them off, in the slower times. So for me, a maintenance agreement is so much more. But to your point, it's hard to track the value because of the word to mouth. Because if you wow the customer properly, they're telling the neighbor. So I did read a study once that they brought out that said that one good review will touch 10 people. one bad review will touch 15 people.
Oh yeah, easy.
Yeah.
People want to spread bad news more, unfortunately, than good news.
Yeah, we don't do a good enough job in this industry to talk about how incredibly valuable a maintenance agreement is. It is huge.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that comes down to so I've been running the agency business even before What Converts and now What Converts as well. The golden, I don't know, what you call it, what you're striving for in business, or what I strive for, is recurring revenue.
Yes.
That recurring revenue is a game changer in an agency, in HVAC, in a SaaS company as well. Yeah. So I think maintenance contracts are recurring revenue. It's also the opportunity to stay in contact and get the bigger deal
and have them tell your story, just like JG's saying. When I have a good experience, I want to tell people about it.
Yeah.
And the HVAC purchase is so infrequent, if you're not touching them regularly, then it's, no one's telling the story for 10 years or whatever.
And sorry to interrupt, Michael, but just a myth too, and for any homeowner that might be watching, we're not getting rich off of maintenance agreements.
No.
It's a break even plus a bit. That's how we look at it. It's break even plus a bit. I'm paying for salaries. I'm paying, so I'm not hurting, but at the same time, it's the other value that I'm trying to grab from it.
Yeah, you're wanting them, like we said, the ultimate goal is to become, this is like in your marketplace, very hard to do. It's almost impossible, but to become like the Kleenex of the marketplace. It's not a Kleenex, it's a tissue, but to become, when someone, you're kind of doing that on a micro level. When someone thinks heat and air conditioning, they're thinking you. Because you have that relationship. And maybe in a small, rural market, you can get that, to get 10% market share for a heat and air conditioning company is huge.
Yes.
But just where, I'm going to call such and such because they've been here forever and I hear they do great work and I have a lot of friends that use them. And,
I think, I'm from a marketing tracking company, but referrals, which many times aren't easy to track, are gold. And I've seen it in my agency. I've seen it in What Converts Our Business. Like I was looking the other day, our top customers, they came through as referrals. Like the first seed top customer was through Google Ads. And then over time, I've just known through evidence and through conversations, like I found you because of this. And you hear those conversations and it's like our very top customers were referrals, but I think what's important about Google Ads and any other advertising that you do, it's the seed customers that grow into the jungle.
Yes.
So and that's where, like offering good service that spreads in all the reviews. But if you spend money on marketing, it's just the return on investment is not just from that one customer. It's what referrals you get, what brand recognition you get. It's the growth from there.
And that's such, I just, we're into a lot of topics here. They all are intertwined, but, you can deliver the lead, you can deliver the marketed lead, but then what happens to it after that? It's got to be nurtured and you got to take care of them. And then, like you're saying, there's like these costs that are extra values of people, becoming your best spokespeople. They're talking about you, so you got to get them in there first. You got to take care of them. And then if you do that, people are going to tell you about it. I'm the HVAC guy and all my friends, I got to call you and say, here's a quick story. Here's a quick squirrel story.
You're a popular guy, Will, No,
but I got a call. So in the member guest this weekend, Michael.
Yeah.
Our first match, we played a father and son. He's worked at Microsoft for like 23 years. And so we're waiting, waiting, super slow golf. And so we're talking like, what do you do? And like, I work for Microsoft and I've been there for 23 years. I'm like, do you know Chris Wilburn? And he goes, yeah, I know Chris Wilburn. I'm like, we went to college together. And I was like, I could tell you some stories and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Well, Tuesday, I'm with Jackson, my son. He's getting his haircut and the phone rings and it's Chris Wilburn. And I'm like, he must have talked to Rob. So I walk outside while Jackson's getting his haircut. I'm like, what's up, dude? I was like, you must have talked to Rob. And he goes, who's Rob?
Oh.
So he was calling. He had an HVAC question. I hadn't talked to him probably a year.
Yeah.
And he's got a question about it. He's got a humidity problem. And he's running me through the scenarios. He's got systems that aren't no runtime, JG. They're single stage compressors are coming on. they're satisfying the sensible. They're not getting the latent. And
Yeah.
It's just, humidity. He's like 70% humidity in his house.
It's raining.
Oh, wow.
It's a rainforest.
Like, dude. So
So-
anyway, that's the whole thing. People, you get known as that, they want to contact you, and that's what ultimately heat and air conditioning company wants, is be known as you're the company.
Yeah.
But a funny
What's
story
interesting?
too. Go ahead,
Oh,
Michael.
go
Sorry. No, go ahead.
What's interesting with Will's story there, and what converts, we deal with hundreds and even thousands of agencies. The ones that are really successful, they're more than marketers. They know the industry they are in. They understand the industry. So those are the agencies that make the best marketers, because they know, like, hey, out of every phone call, you should get this many bookings. They know the metrics. They know how much to spend. So I just see, like, as you were talking, Will, I could see that in you. You've got like industry experience.
Yeah.
You layer on the marketing in that, and it's just a very effective.
Well, I look at you guys, and we're pretty good on our agenda here. So I'm like, what makes you different? And I'm looking, and I think it's kind of that attribution model of being able to, you're tracking the first touch attribution, but the ability to be able to see all the instances of it, because it's very interesting. JG, you go, and I do it all the time. I'll go in and click on randomly some customers in what converts, and I'll look at, again, the first touch was a Google ad. And then they called the Google business number. They called the Google business number again, an organic search, all these things. And then, like, there's initial revenue, no revenue, no revenue, no revenue. And then there's like, boom, there's a big one here, but being able to see that. And I think that's very telling for an HVAC or a plumber as an owner to go, this is what you want, and it goes back into the recurring revenue thing. It's more skewed, but if you're not growing maintenance with people, you're like this all the time. It's, slam, you're killing your team, they're dying, and then you're sending them home at noon, and they had no hours.
What I think is important is that, like, internally, we're a coaching company that does heating and air, right? We're coaching all our employees to be better people, better at their job. And so we have a model of, we're constantly coaching and training our replacements, because it's the way it has to be. And that's something I stole from the software company I was at. But, to have what Michael can present to me, it's not to get a CSR in trouble. You didn't do this. It's the coaching, right? It's like, how do we become better at doing this piece of it? And so we're not going to get into it, Will. We're not doing the culture thing again. We're not doing the assessment thing again. However, with this data, it's easy enough for me to sit my team down and say, all right, top funnel, this is what we got. This is how much it cost us. This is where it's spilling over the bucket, right? Yeah. And what can we do? What problems do we need to solve to make sure that we grab everything top funnel?
Well, an owner wants to know if they're missing phone calls. They want to know if, I'll do it from time to time. I'll go in and listen. And we will do this from time to time. We'll pick out a bad one, but then we'll try to pick out 2 or 3 good calls and go, you need to go give this person an atta girl, atta boy, whatever, and say, this was handled great. But, listening to the phone calls from a company, sometimes it's like nails on a chalkboard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. And the whole thing of like nurturing the customer. I'll just give another real world example. I had my car in. I'm still driving my old Murano, Michael, 192,000 miles. So I took it in, had it inspected, and the guy's doing a pretty good job. He goes, Will, those your rear brakes, you're getting close. So I'm sure the next time I go in for an oil change, he's going to hit me with it. So this leads right back into the heat and air conditioning side. I've had both systems replaced in my home in the last 3 years, and my guy would come out, same guy every time that I trust. He's been doing my maintenance for years. Will, you're getting close. It's getting about time. So when, I knew, being an HVAC guy, I knew when it's coming. 17 years, it was coming.
Yeah.
So the average homeowner doesn't. But if that tech, maintenance person, service or whatever, if they're not doing that and educating, you're going to scare the crap out of somebody. And that's when they go, I'm going to call somebody else and get another, free second opinion. That's why that marketing tactic works, because a lot of companies don't do it. So you got to educate.
Every heating and air guy that's worth his salt wants to be the second opinion.
Of course.
I love to be the second opinion.
I'm flying in with a cape on. Hey.
How many, JG, how many trucks do you have, or how many technicians do you have in the company?
So we currently, I call them 52 tool touchers, right? So, but actually service tech, so this is installers, and we call them tool touchers and office people. But we have the service side, we have several divisions. So in my kitchen, we do commercial kitchen division. We have 4 technicians. And then I have, I believe 5, and I should know these numbers better, guys, but I have a really good service manager, right? So I have 5, I have 6 service technicians, and then I have 5 PM techs, and then I have 4 commercial technicians. So the kitchen group is the only group we coach in a separate section, because they're part of the industry is a little different. The other guys, we all coach together, and we've done a lot of stuff here lately with data and AI that we do to coach, create personalized one-on-ones for 30 minutes, at least once a month, with every technician, and we sit down with them. But it's all like your company provides. Like if we were to partner with you, that's the training that I would take to my CSR team. But like I said, we truly are a coaching company that does heating and air, and we're very much about creating better technicians all the time.
Yeah.
So how do you see marketing? So do you see marketing as like, I got to keep all these technicians busy every day?
That's yes, that's part of it. So actually, these conversations are very, very valid, because we're having them right now. So I'm sorry, what's the rest of your question?
I was going to say, I kind of see it. I see 2 groups. Like some are like, I just got to keep my existing team busy and filled, and then you get those other guys where it's like, okay, I've got 10 trucks or technicians, and I want to get to 15. So I want to grow that. So it's like, where are you? Are you like, I'm happy with my team, I just want to keep them busy, or I want to add more?
Yeah, we're in growing mode. We want to grow. And so, but actually I can see a little bit of a hybrid of both, right? Because we're in a very unique company. We do not have a lot of turnover, and a lot of people that work for us have never worked for another heating and air company. We bring them straight out of tech school, and we teach them our way, and our way is a lot different than other people. And so, but the growth mode and the marketing piece, we actually had these conversations today, because we're going to increase our budget for marketing a little bit. And I'm not going to give the secrets away, because Dave will kill me. No, Will, that's not. I shouldn't have told my marketing guy. I meant. But the other thing we're looking at is when we're spending, which month we're spending those money in, and I think we've been doing it wrong. And this is actually Dave Bohr, which is one of the owners, came up with that revelation and said, brought it up in our leadership meeting today, that we've been funding the wrong months. And we're very much outside the box thinking company. So I don't want to go away from really what we're talking about, but we're going to really put the money when we can buy the best ads, and it's not necessarily the slow time.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Our usage that for our HVAC customers, you see it increase, like starting April, May, June, July, obviously July hot, and then like kind of tapers.
July 4th is like the old saying, Michael, in the industry, and sorry to, I'm just interjecting, is either it's been fixed or replaced by July 4th.
Yep.
By July 4th, yeah. And
not always. It's weird. It's depending on the weather. April was great this year. May, it rained a lot. Now it's rained again, so it made June start off slow.
So I suppose sometimes you want to get people early, but then again, it's like people wait until there's a problem before they search.
And it's what's interesting, and that's typically the case. And I've had service techs tell me that, I know so many, and just I'm friends with them from, customers and stuff. They're like, Will, I'll go up to them, go do a repair, and go like, you're on borrowed time. It's not going to make it. And they go, I'm going to take the risk. And it's like, do it now while we're not that busy. And it's not going to be a freaking fire drill, and you're not going to be, possibly without air for a few days in the middle of summer. The majority of people aren't doing it. But what I have heard this year is, whatever it is, if it's tariffs or just understanding of maybe the possibly 454 shortage, don't know. But I've heard a lot of people say they've had a lot of customers, they've just been shocked, like, let's go ahead and do it.
Well, I'll tell you why they're shocked. Well, we used to buy a warranty coil, out of warranty coil for Linux, $500-600 for a 3-ton system, and we don't sell Linux. This is just I came across my desk today. It was a 3-ton Linux indoor air handler.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
$3,000 for the quote.
What?
$3,000. Then put on top of that that's 410A, so the refrigerant price wasn't that big of a deal, but you got to put labor on it. So you're at a $6,000 repair. That's a new system. Don't fix it.
No one was in their right mind is going to do that.
No, and it's not like I was not getting a great price from Linux. We do enough warranty stuff through Linux. I actually called the territory manager. I'm like, what? He said, dude, I'm not lying to you. That's what it is. And so we're entering, this is a really weird time. And this is my soapbox, and I'm going to be controversial. Don't wait. Because number one, this equipment is so volatile at the moment since COVID and this refrigerant change.
Yep.
I will put a screenshot up because I'm going to be called a liar again like I was last time. Do you know what I was quoted for a jug of 454 yesterday? $2,999 for one jug. What? Now, I didn't buy it. And we laughed at it, and we found it much cheaper elsewhere. But those are the types of things that's starting to happen. So,
like price gouging,
because this guy or this distributor, not local by the way, he's elsewhere, not a very well known in our industry, but they sell refrigerant. He's sitting on 50 pallets. He has it. The other guys have to get it in drips, and you may have one, you may not have one. He has pallet quantity, so he wants to sell you 20 on a pallet for $3,000 a jug. Right. So obviously we're not buying from him. And I know that the guys, the haters in the comment, you're lying. I'll put the screenshot up for you. I actually took a screenshot. So
I told this story last couple of days. I replaced a 5-ton system 3 years ago, and the 3-ton system cost more last year than the 5-ton system did.
Yes. And let me tell you, I've been in this industry a very long time. I have never had a manufacturer come to me and go, by the way, here's a 10% price reduction this year. It never happens. So if you're holding out because you think it's going to get better, it doesn't. Yeah. And time of year, honestly, doesn't have much to do with it anymore. It just is what it is.
Here's what it really is, homeowners. If you are out there, the 2 or 3 of you might be listening. The whole deal is the contractors, are looking for work in the shoulder seasons, the spring and falls, and they have more time to do it, and you're going to be, less uncomfortable. It might be, literally in the middle of summer, it could be 2 or 3 days for somebody can get out, and then it's a day install, maybe more than a day install. So you got to think about things like that, and especially in different markets. We're in the South, even other markets. So we look at weather around the whole country. And the Northeast has been really hot. So think about it like that. It's just like, hey, if it's, you're on borrowed time, and no one wants to spend the money. I did not, but I'll tell you one thing, my damn house is way more comfortable than it used to be. I mean, 73 degrees in my house at 46%, 45% humidity. Wife's got a blanket on, and me too.
Well, second controversial statement for the night. Here in the South, I really would like to find this global warming they're talking about. This is the coldest start to a summer we have ever had. Now,
remember 2 years ago? 2 years ago? It was June. The high was in the low 70s, 60s.
Well, I was in software at the time. I wasn't trying to sell air conditioners, so I didn't pay attention.
It was the worst start to the summer. Everybody was freaking out, and then we had the late summer that went into like September.
No, we were very blessed in May, but I am a little concerned. But it was 42 degrees the other night, and it's May, guys. We need more diesel trucks on the road. Is what we need.
Let's try to turn the ship around back on to our guest here.
Sorry,
I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this.
I have a question. So where do you see, and on your side of the business, the advent of AI? I know you've got the AI doing the conversational intelligence. I've been hearing things of people with AI, answering and this and that. Where do you see the advent of AI? I mean, it's in everything. I mean, it's crazy now. All the Google algorithms are changing. The Google search results are changing. So I mean, I'm doing a webinar next week that's on the 0-click world.
Mm-hmm.
That's reality. So where do you see AI? How do you see it, impacting, helping your side?
Yeah, it's across the board. It's from like running ads. Who's the best person to see an ad? It's being used there.
Yeah.
It's when you get the phone call, it's analyzing it with the AI. Was it a good call? Was it valuable? It's on the other side where people are using AI agents. So you're probably like me. I don't know if we're not boomers, but like if we phone somebody and says, this
I'm
is
Generation
an AI, generation, yeah. But if we call and they say, this is an AI agent you're talking to, we kind of like put down the phone.
Zero, hit zero. I want to speak to someone.
Repeatedly.
But now that seems to be trending. And from a marketing point of view, what's great is that an AI agent answering it, they do the same thing all the time. So you can get the data from it. So it's kind of interesting. So I see it across the board. What I was seeing while I was being a marketer and running Google Ads campaigns, and you've got all these keywords and all this data and all this attribution points, it got overwhelming. So I was the kind of guy that would spend my time looking at marketing data. I was in analytics, seeing the trends. I'd go look at all these reports, I'd absorb it, then I'd sleep at night and I'd wake up like, oh yeah, this is it, Then it gets to the point where the data is just too much.
Yes.
There's too many options, too many places. And so I think the Google algorithm, and somebody used a good analogy, the Google algorithm, they've got trillions of data points. And they're the best in the algorithm, in my opinion.
Of course.
And the one thing they do not have is, was a phone call valuable or not? How much was it worth? Was it a good one or not? So we're able to tell them that, and we feed them that, and then the algorithm works a lot better. So I'm just seeing AI, like from a data point of view, being really helpful.
Yeah.
And so you kind of I'm looking for the opportunity. And somebody mentioned that, AI is kind of like a glorified autocomplete,
Yes.
before, So
right.
I think it's overblown and overhyped in some areas, but it's brilliant in other areas. And what I'm like with the marketing people, they're trying to make content. Oh, you can make all the content in the world very easily, but if everyone does it, then you're not differentiated.
No,
so I'm trying to look at like
human aspect's got to be there.
Yeah. Where can I bring the human benefit that sits on top of the AI, or like the human benefit is enhanced by the AI. So that's kind of, I'm kind of watching and seeing, and I think a lot of these AI companies are growing like a rocket ship. Some of them are going to burn out and a few will make it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. I just think it's useful. It's got to the stage where it is useful.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's gonna, it's still got a long way to go before it takes human experience away, or human insight and human decision making.
Yeah, we're using AI a lot in hiring at the moment because we're trying to build a really good team, and so we will take disc profile assessments with resumes and with our existing team's disc assessments, and we'll throw it all in the mix and say, will this be a good employee? What is the communication going to look like? And what we're finding is because we'll bring a candidate and we'll sit him down. The first thing he does is take the disc assessment. And while that's going on and my manager starts interviewing, I'm throwing all that stuff together in AI because it takes seconds. And I get a report very quickly and I can read through it. And when I have my answers, I join the interview. And I know which points to go ask about at that point. And so, but what I'm coaching my team on, which is very, very important, AI is not the end all be all. It's a guide. It's a guide to say, hey, I see a flag here, but I see a couple of good things here. What, go ask these questions.
So what you said there and how you use it, I call it the glorified autocomplete. I also see it as a way it distills a lot of information into like a concise, usable information. So, and I use it myself. Like the other day I was having a patio paver installed and I was not too sure they're doing it right. So I asked ChatGPT and I was like, they were missing the leveling sand step. And I'm like, okay, I asked ChatGPT, like, what is the purpose of this? And told me, like, can I miss this step? And they're like, absolutely not. So I walked out and I told the dudes, guys, pull it all up and put down the leveling sand. And but it
All-American sand, is that what it's called?
Well, that comes at the end. But I think the important thing is you see ChatGPT work, or whichever one you use, and it's accessing 30, 40 different articles, evaluating it, distilling it down into a very distilled answer that's very useful, that saves a tremendous amount of time.
Yeah, we also use it in our technician coaching to say, okay, so we load up all our tests, disc assessments in there and their KPIs for the month. What it does for me is it'll look at the KPIs, but then it'll say, listen, this technician might be struggling with this because of this in his disc assessment, and here's how to talk to him about it. And now that we're actually communicating with them in the way that they like to listen, the information is being actually retained. Yep. And so, I have one tech that he doesn't want to be talked down to. He wants to be praised. But even if he has something small going on, you praise him first and then bring this up and then praise him again. And the result's better. Before, the manager we had before, we just bring him in and start hollering at him, and it's like, okay, nothing was gained, right? And so we're seeing a lot of personal development through using a guide, and it's not the end all be all, like I said. It's a guide, because they told me, my staff is telling me that when the robots take over the world, I'm the only one AI is not going to kill because I'm so friendly with it. But it's truly very, very helpful to disseminate a large quantity of data very quickly, because a disc profile assessment report is 72 pages. I don't have time. Yeah. Right. But it knows what I'm looking for. It knows the pages I want to concentrate on, and it can very quickly, within seconds, put it together for me so that I can confidently walk in somewhere, and then I can sit down with a candidate and look at the true what type of person they are, right? Because the disc doesn't show what kind of person they are, it just shows how they make decisions, right? So
that was interesting that you use it that way. Maybe I should use it, because out of all the years I've been in business, the thing that I struggle with the most is people management.
It's hard. It's hard. It's not easy.
So when you just said that it tells you like this person likes to be praised before giving feedback, it's like I've always been, and like people say it must be because you're South African.
All right.
No. I've always been a direct person. It's like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not a cheerleader. I'm just like, this is what I see. This is where I think you should change.
But it's a different world, Michael. I agree with you too. You got to sugarcoat the shit out of it now.
Now you got to, like, what do they call it? A shit sandwich? Or, you got to wrap it.
You got to sprinkle some sugar on top and put a little whipped cream, and it's still a shit sandwich.
But you're right, Mike. Yeah, you're right. It's even when two people have conflict now, I'll take their discs, put it in, and I would tell Chat there was conflict. This is what the conflict was about. Yeah. Help me, right? And it'll tell me, sit these two people down, and the conflict was because this person interpreted the conversation this way, this one did this way, because they communicate differently.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling you, the people management thing is one of the hardest things I'm dealing with, and it's helping me.
It's helping.
Well, okay. It is. I always tell our team it's all about psychology.
It is.
It's how things are perceived, it's how it's presented, how people process it, and really back to, I know we talk about disc profile. It's almost like culture. It's like every show, but the reason that came about, and the last time I did one, Michael, was 2002, and I still have it in my filing cabinet. I know that sounds archaic, but no, but the whole thing about it is understanding who you're speaking to or communicating with, and understand how they are processing things and how they understand. And so it's back to, if you can pick up really quickly on who you're dealing with, you present it to them in the way they understand it and process it the best. So, like, example, someone wants to be led down the path. Here's the best thing for you. This is what I recommend. They don't want anything else. All right, boom. Or then there's the other one that's like, give me the different options. I want to look at 3 different options, 4 different options, and make a choice. So, and then there's all the mixtures in between. But that's why I think that whole thing really came about years ago. Okay. So do we want to bring it back to while we had Michael?
Well, I want to find out from Michael what his perfect customer looks like. That's important to me. Like, Michael, what are you looking for in the perfect customer?
Yeah, our perfect customer is, an agency who are running Google Ads campaigns for clients, generating phone call leads, or leads in general. Okay. And they really, they care about their customers and want to get the best results, for them. We kind of see our tool as a truth tool. Like, if you're a great agency and a great marketer, you're going to be elevated, build trust with your customers. But if you're one of these guys, all smoke and mirrors, you probably don't want to use our tool.
Yeah. There's a lot out
Like
there. Had that
Yeah.
conversation this afternoon with a friend of mine on the West Coast, and he deals with some agencies. He's kind of a consultant, and he's like, man, it's amazing. He goes, I call their, let's say they're blowing smoke, and I call them out on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, so yeah, it's just people that are running advertising and they want to know what works and they want to build trust with their clients.
Yeah.
Those are
Well, tell us about this. So if I'm a agency or whoever, what do I do? To get signed up? I go to the website. How do I get a demo? How do things work?
Go to whatconverts.com.
Okay.
And if you're an agency and you're running Google Ads, I recommend doing a demo. Yep. Our sales guys, after many years, we've got a great team, and they've been trained not to sell. They've basically been trained.
You can't have this. I'm not going to give this to you.
Yeah. Well, no, it's none of that. It's basically, I've told them I do not want a bad fit customer. You got to find out if we can genuinely help them. Mm-hmm. If we can't help them, I would like you to turn them away. So it's like their whole job's about doing a discovery. And I mean, our pricing's on the website, so you can see the pricing. We're not going to hold the pricing back. I hate the 3-stage demo process of enterprise software. I hate it with a passion.
And then finally throw the price on you at the end.
Exactly.
It's just like, oh my God, I got to get another job just to afford this.
Yeah. But I do sympathize with people looking for software because there's so many options and there's so much smoke and mirrors and misinformation. So here's one thing. So, Will, you've been doing marketing for a long time. I've been doing it for 25 years. And marketing for What Converts is the hardest marketing I've ever done. And the reason for that is if you look at marketing technology software companies, there's 10,000. And if you look at, so for example, HubSpot, their sales and marketing budget for last year was over $1 billion.
I wouldn't doubt that one bit.
Yeah. They do attribution software. They do reporting. They integrate with Google Ads. They track leads. They use the same language we do, and they put all this information out there. So when we speak to people, it's like, how do you get your message where that's just one of 10,000 companies spreading information, and now people are trying to choose an option like, well, HubSpot says they do it, and it's like, well, So with our guys, it's like, I just want you to genuinely help these guys understand what we do, find out what their problems are, like, and how we can solve it, and then just show them, like, we can solve that problem.
Great. If not, and that's kind of with us. We're the same way. It's like, hey, and I think we're pulling a Jeff Burrisism out here. If I can't help you grow your business, then I'll walk away.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he used to say. Yep.
And we say the same thing. And I can, the longer you do it, I'm sure the same with you, Michael. You can see it a mile away. You're like, well, this isn't going to be good. And you can read the signs, and it's about a relationship, and it's about trust. Yeah. And it's like, hey, we may not be a good fit. And this is what I always tell people is, we tell a lot of customers, they're trying to grow. They're a small company, under 2 million maybe. And they're like, I'm going to hire a marketing company. Like, it's not time.
It's not time.
It's not time to do it. And I'll say, look, I'll put this out here right now. I always say, I will take anybody's phone call. I probably won't answer it because I won't know your number, but because I get so many solicitation calls. Yeah. But to leave me a message, and I'll be glad to talk to you and just give you, here's what I would do.
Yeah.
Yep. Here's the blocking, tackling techniques I would do early on. And then it's a lot of hard work. This business is hard. Heating and air conditioning is hard.
No,
well, this is one of the coolest conversations I think we've had yet, Will, but I have one very serious question for Michael. This is probably the most serious question of the night. Michael.
Yeah.
2027 Australia. Is Rossi doing a three-peat?
I don't know.
Boy, this is.
I'm thinking what to say, but I'm also kind of thinking like, do they wear Veldschoens?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, but I'll tell you, Veldschoen sponsors them. All right. So for our listeners, we have.
What are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about. Is this soccer?
Yeah. So the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, it's like
actually. the cameras cut him off, but I'll show you. Well, no, it's a different camera. But right above the television is the man, the myth, the legends picture. He is my rugby god.
Okay, so I'm going to go with yes. He's going to do the three-peat.
I think so too. Yes, but he well, it's an amazing story, and actually, Michael, I was going to tell you, if you haven't read the Rassi book yet, it's an amazing read. But of everything he's gone through in his life to take. But Will, it's the story about our national team and all the adversity in South Africa that's going on, but this rugby team and how they're trying to bring the country together, and it's a very inspiring story. But they've won the last 2 World Cups against all odds, and so what this man Rassi has done through his vision has built this chart of depth in South African rugby that there's a very good chance, and I'm going to start calling it out now, that they might win the World Cup again. But Michael, the 2 things have to happen, and I found this out the last 4 World Cups we've won, is the Cheetahs has to win the Currie Cup, which is my second favorite team in the world, and then we have to win the national championships, or the Southern Championship we play in. If those 2 things happen, the World Cup's a slam dunk.
Okay,
That's awesome.
that's good. And am I even South African anymore if I don't watch as much rugby as Because I'm sort of on the outside. I watched the World Cup, so I'm kind of embarrassed here.
No, you're good. So this is the thing though, and it's rugby is not always everybody's cup of tea, but the story is just so inspiring, and that's kind of the reason I brought it up. Is I just finished the book, and it is one of the most inspiring stories that I think I've ever read. And it's
I'm gonna get that. Yeah,
it's Rassi's book, and just what he struggled with in life to get. He had, as a player, had 38 operations to keep.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
And he was one heck of a rugby player. So I have completely derailed an American HVAC conversation with a rugby question.
We got one more question.
Yeah, we do. This is important too.
What is your take on Bigfoot? Is he out there? Is he real?
And does he live in the Kalahari?
And do you have a different name for him? There's Chupacabra. There's all sorts of stuff. So.
We call him the Tokalos.
I just heard my son mention something. So
I've seen some people that look like.
We're watching a movie tonight, so it's probably going to end in a scary movie. So anyway, what's your take, Michael?
I've seen some people that look like Bigfoot. You saw my playing partner this weekend. Yeah.
Your partner, he could be part Sasquatch.
Yeah. He's the big guy. And that was good fun. But I don't want to be a party killer, but I'm gonna say no, Will. I don't think
okay, that's fine. I mean,
that's okay. We're just doing a poll. It's a running poll.
That's okay.
You're welcome back.
Now, do you think they genuinely landed on the moon in the 70s?
I'm almost. I don't think so. Here's my reasoning why. Why have we not gone back?
That's the thing. I know.
If we went back there that long ago, and the technology we have today, which I know it's still. I mean, we just had a SpaceX rocket blow up, last week or week before. But how have we not been there? It's it's the closest thing to Earth.
The thing is, I was always like, oh, of course we went there. But then I started looking, and the questions you're asking, and you look for the evidence, like, where's the flag that they planted? But anyway,
Bigfoot took it.
There you go.
Bigfoot took it.
So no, and then you start getting into who really built the pyramids. Like, so there's so many interesting questions we got to answer.
All this stuff, like they did a lot of whatever it's called, imaging down below it, and they found all this stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, you haven't found this, or is this coming out now? It's like
I don't know if I saw that. I don't know if it's real. It's just there's so much. I don't know. It gets to the point where he's just got to go play golf.
I'll put the whole AI conversation together. Well, I think I've sent you one or two, but my new favorite thing is, and yes, I'm a TikTok guy. I'm sorry, but there is now, through this AI video thing, where they actually have Bigfoot talking like he's some regular survivalist living out there, and it is some of the funniest videos. It is like, he just, the camera comes on and he goes, "Hey, Bigfoot followers, today I'm going to show you how I cook fish," and it's like walk you through this whole thing, and it's like an actual Bigfoot looking guy. It's all AI, but it's some of the funniest stuff, and then this alien comes up behind him in one of these videos and knocks him out, steals the camera. And the alien has a southern accent and like talking, and he's talking about how the night before he drank too much, and they pan over and the UFO is like bent halfway around a tree, and he's like, yeah, I don't think that's going to buff out, and it's like this whole thing. Geez. And then 2 videos later, the Yeti knocks the alien out and gets the camera back for his buddy Bigfoot. So it's like this whole, and it's actually quite funny. So I'll send you a couple.
Well, I did finally, like I said, log in with your credentials on my iPad. I refused to put it on my phone on TikTok. So I've been against TikTok, Michael. But
I haven't installed it either. I just
I'm sorry, man. I got teenagers.
I probably have all my data anyway because I'm out on the internet and all this crap so much. But
I just always think I'm not that interesting to want to snoop on me.
Well, Michael, thank you so much. It was so great to have a fellow South African on. It really warmed my heart tonight, and it was.
We'll get a redneck on next time, damn it.
Yes, we do. But this is our first podcast that actually went an hour and 20 minutes, and it was riveting the entire time. And I want to thank you for that. It was a great conversation, and actually a topic. Will, I feel like normally we talk about things that's really contractor centric, and the advertising doesn't get touched. And I'm so glad tonight we can actually dive into some of that. So it was really good.
Well, it's just telling you, it's a complicated piece. It just, again, it's not like someone is getting online and they're looking up and buying a TV. And that's what we think, consumers kind of look at our industry like that. It's like, I'm going to go, all right, I want a 65-inch TV. I want, 4K. I want this. All right, so I'm going to start looking at brands and all the same specs. Who's got the best price? Where can you buy it the cheapest? And that's just so against what our industry is because there's so many variables in it. So it's tough.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, if you have a heating and air company and you're paying for marketing and you want to know if Will is doing his job, get in touch with Michael and he'll help you figure out if it's all working out. So absolutely. Well, Michael, thank you so much for being on. And Will, I think we are recording again next week, so I don't know who the guest is, so I can't really tease it because I didn't do my due diligence and read your email. So, but it should be a good one, I'm sure. And so I just want to say thanks again, Michael, for being here. It was a great afternoon.
Thanks, guys. I enjoyed it. It was like talking to friends. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Cheers, man.